been a long time since I've made a video, and today I wanted to make a video more. Actually, I'm going to be making a couple, but this one is going to be specifically on more on my journey to becoming a more with the raw lifestyle. So first, to begin with, I had decided to change my diet. My diet consisting mostly of, just a traditional diet of, Cheetos and ice cream, lots of ice cream, and cheese galore, you name it, cheese pizza, just cheese sandwiches. And so I went from that to eating a little bit better. I had to restrict my sugar content because I had gotten pregnant at that time and was told that I was at risk for gestational diabetes, and so I had to really cut down on the sugar. And so a lot of what I remember eating was spinach, which I did not like, but I still ate just handfuls of it. And so I would eat handfuls of spinach and as much cooked vegetables as I could. But biggest thing that I would try and do is check on the back of labels to make sure it was under 5 grams of sugar. And so that was my diet then. And then once I got done being pregnant, then I was back on the sugars again, high amounts of sugar, and I did that probably for the next 3 pregnancies of mine. And then the big awakening happened with me that was totally necessary. It was actually a blessing to me. Was my tooth had chipped, and I started just totally freaking out and panicking, wondering, okay, I believe that we can heal our teeth, and so that's why I started looking up. And so I came across a guy by the name of Romuald Nagel, and he did the book Cure Tooth Decay. And so I had done that diet where I was doing raw milk and I was doing raw cheese and I was doing bone broths, which was kind of difficult for me because I had a hard time with the idea of meat in the first place, but I still did it. And I was trying to eat as many steaks as I could, where whenever we went out I'd always make sure I ordered some kind of big steak, and I did that, and I began to get sicker and my teeth, were maybe feeling a little bit better, but it'd maybe go for about a month before I'd be right back in the same kind of pain. And so I decided to try out something else. I saw a video from a guy named Dan McDonald. He was doing some juicing, and so I decided to try that, which I did have a good experience about that. Actually, when I was going through both a headache and a toothache problem, I had drinking some green juice, and while I drank the green juice, the headache actually started to minimize and the tooth pain completely was gone. So I continued to do that for a whole week, and I started to go through some heavy detoxing of just one whole day of severe migraines. And the next day when I woke up, I felt a lot more clearer, a lot lighter, more energy, actually a lot of energy, so much that I wasn't really sure what to do with it. And so I'd had something that was minor, but I had some cooked bread, and I was doing actually a lot of honey, and so I had that, and then I started to get pains in my stomach, and so I kind of continued back and forth doing the juicing and the breads and those kind of things for a while. And then I looked up someone else who promoted more of like a raw vegan lifestyle. The enemy was always the guy who did more of the juicing stuff, and so I checked out someone else who was promoting more raw vegan foods, which at this time was Marcus Rothkranz. And so I'd got more interested into that. I'd looked up some other people besides him. I can't remember their names though, but I'm sure you know what I talk about when I say there was a lady who, did recipes like raw spaghetti, and it wasn't Christina, it wasn't Megan, it was another lady, but I just can't remember her name. And so I'd done some of those recipes and I actually enjoyed them. And so for one thing, I never liked avocados, and I knew that was healthy, especially because I was pregnant again. And I wanted to be able to eat some foods that would be good for my baby. And so I was looking into some of those things while I was also looking into other chefs that were more promoting good, like, whole meals, but then more just more with better ingredients, not really the best for you. Like, for example, it'd be like brown rice and, you know, some cooked vegetables and those kind of things. And so I was doing both and playing with both of them, going back at the same time, and I definitely admit that I loved the way that the raw foods made me feel, and so that's why I felt more passionate about those. And so I continued to push more for the raw food thing, and I did a challenge, and I knew I was taking a risk because I knew and I know that when you eat raw foods that you've got to eat a substantial amount to want to stick to it. And I was definitely underly carbed, and so I was doing, you know, some pastas, you know, brown rice pastas and things like that, but I had totally cut out all the meat. It was pretty easy for me. I'd watched one video called The Best Speech Ever Heard. Saw that video, and with overnight I never wanted to touch those kind of foods again. And so that was a pretty easy transition for me, and so that's kind of my journey, where I got from there to here. So I wouldn't really say I'm a raw foodist, but I would say that I'm a believer in raw foods. That's what I promote to a lot of people, and I do understand that when you are doing raw foods that you have to have the right mentality to do it. Otherwise, if you're stressing out saying, you know, things like this sucks, which is where I was at, that you still end up with, you know, some health problems. But if it's something that you wanted to do, which is the journey I took, because the stuff I was doing just wasn't working, I was wanting to try other things that were going to give me more benefits. And so the raw foods that way has been really helpful. And I can even make a testimony even for a friend of mine that, you know, they are big believers in eating meats and those kind of things. And they were getting to the point where they were getting extremely sick. And so they, by my kind of persistence, went on more of a raw food diet. And they noticed some really good effects from it. So I definitely think it's worth trying out. And remember, it's not just a vegan, it's raw vegan food, just to try it out. Even for, like, you know, I would prefer doing 2 weeks. I think that's when I noticed the biggest results from it. 2 weeks has always been a good marker for me. And just to continue to do it, see how you feel, you know, take notes, write down how you felt before, and then do the diet 2 weeks later. Open up your list and see what kind of things are different from then. So that is all the talking I'm going to do today, of course. Let this be a lesson, and we will talk to you later.